Yes, I can hear you, Purity.
Awesome. Good evening once again to everyone. Happy to have joined the team for Q-Sourcing Rwanda to do a brain exchange. I understand most of us or all of us are in the management team. So I'm looking forward for a very interesting session this afternoon. And also just to get to know you better, because it's going to be a very long training in the next couple of weeks. So I hope this is the beginning of just getting to learn and also developing our skills as managers and leaders of our businesses. We'll start off with a bit of introduction. I hope everyone can hear me, especially the Kigali team. Anyone? Lydia, are you able to hear me?
Yes, hi Purity.
Hi Lydia, how are you?
I can hear you myself. I don't know about my colleagues. Good. We are doing good.
Yes, we are doing very fine.
Hi Dorothy, how are you?
Hi, good to see you. Well, good to hear you. I can't see you, but good to hear from you.
Yes, Lydia, do you want to start us off this meeting before we start with our program? Lydia?
Hi Purity, how is the internet on your end? Because my colleagues are saying they can't hear you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they can't hear you. Well, at least I heard you myself. But
yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you very well. Maybe they can check the settings, their Zoom settings or something. Because even if the internet is bad, you ought to be able to hear something.
Yes.
Sometimes it's the Zoom sound settings.
Are they able to check if their mics are on?
Yes, they're conversant with that, but they can't hear you. Like, and hearing, I don't think it has nothing to do with muting and unmuting. Maybe I can ask one of them to talk, and then we see if you can hear them.
Yes. Patrick, are you able to hear us?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, and Queen, are you able to hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
John, are you able to hear us?
It's now getting better, but it's been on and off.
All right. Who else? Peace, are you able to hear us? Peace, are you able to hear us?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Alex, are you able to hear?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. So I think we can confirm all of us can hear us.
Yes.
All right. Do you want to open the meeting for us, Lydia?
All right. Thank you, Purity. Thank you, everyone. We are glad to have you as our trainers. At least I've done a small briefing to my team. Yeah, we are a small team of 7. Our head of business, Oscar, will be joining us shortly.
Okay.
But we are all excited to take up the training from Accurex. Nice to meet you.
Awesome. I really like it. So we'll start with a bit of introductions. And it's also a bit of an icebreaker for us. So everyone will have an opportunity to tell us their name and one interesting thing they have done this week. This week starts from when? Sunday, right? So between Sunday and today, what interesting thing have you done? and then we can pick the conversation from there. So I don't know, we start with, whom do we start with? Alphabetical order, Alex. Your name and one interesting thing that you have done this week.
Okay. Good afternoon once again. My name is.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay. So my name is Axel Urugue, and I'm the IT admin here at QSOC. So
yes.
An interesting thing I did this week. Actually, I was on sick leave, so
we can't hear you. Just be a bit louder.
Okay, I was saying I was sick, but I don't think I did any interesting things. Actually, okay.
Recovering is interesting, right?
Okay, recovery. Okay. I'm recovering, so it's interesting. Okay.
Awesome. I hope you feel better now.
Yeah, I'm feeling better. Thanks.
Awesome. We move to John. John, your name and one interesting thing you've done this week.
My name is John Daisaba.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing I've done this week is to manage to have time to attend this interesting training that I'm going to follow.
Really? Okay. We move to Lydia.
Yes, Lydia Mbawazi, the HR business partner for our entity, QSOC in Rwanda.
Yes.
And the interesting thing I would mention, one I saw, one I did.
Uh-huh.
What I saw my baby walk perfectly this week.
Oh,
I was
really?
so excited. Yeah.
Wow.
I was all emotional. Yeah, I saw him walk on his own and I was very excited. Another one is at least managing to bring together my team for this training. We are always busy up and down, out of the office.
Yes.
Some have been sick, but I'm happy at least for starters, we are good. And we look forward to a fruitful training.
Awesome. That must be very exciting. I think also for me, planning this training with you has been I've been really looking forward to it. So seeing it come to completion, for me, it's very exciting as well. So we move to Patrick.
Okay. Yes, my name is Patrick Emiliana. I'm senior accountant. The interesting things I knew this week, we are having a baby next week.
Oh, really? That is exciting for next
week. We can't wait for the baby.
So I think they've already started getting excited for next
sure.
week.
Thank you.
Yes, I wish you a very safe delivery. The best health for your baby and your wife as well. So
sure.
The very best.
Sure, thank you.
All right, we move to Peace. Peace.
Okay, thank you. My name is Peace.
Yes.
Interesting thing in this week, I think it's schools are opening now because of COVID. The students were not able to go to school, so now they're open. That's interesting.
Like getting them out of the house, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, that must be very exciting. Even here, schools opened this week, so a bit of traffic on the roads, but I think parents are very, very happy to have children out of their way.
Yeah.
All right, we move to Queen, who is the last one on the list.
Yes, hello. My name is Queen Elodie. And one interesting thing about this week is that I have an assignment that I'm working on that was supposed to end in September, but it got longer until October, but then the client is very strict on concluding by 15th tomorrow.
Okay.
So at least the interesting thing is that I've managed to do a lot of work about it, and I'll be able to meet my deadline,
Hey,
unlike
awesome.
what I expected. Yeah.
Awesome. Amid the pressure, I can imagine the pressure that comes with tight deadlines.
Yes, and I forgot, I'm the talent and business development partner at Kisos in Rwanda.
Awesome. You and me have almost the same job.
See? Yeah.
All right. I think that is it. For me, one interesting thing I've done this week, today is only Wednesday, I think managing crazy schedules. So as you can see, I was supposed to do this webinar from my house, but along the way, I realized I'll not get to my house on time. So I had to go back to the office. So, so for me, that was interesting, just changing my mind along the way and just coming back. But I really look forward to doing the training. I know it's a number of weeks, every 2 days, every other week. So I really hope you get the best out of this training. And whenever I come to Rwanda, Rwanda is one of my best African countries, apart from Kenya. I hope when I come around, I'm able to meet all of you, have a cup of tea or go out for lunch, just to be able to establish a friendship that will last a lifetime. So Dorothy, I think it's your turn. And when you tell us your name and one interesting thing you've done this week, then you can start over with the training. Karibu sana.
Okay. Asante sana. As per usual, you have to ask, Munanisikia? Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think, you know, I spent time with my mom. She's in the village. It was very nice. When I arrived there, she was hosting a bridal party. People were eating. I arrived in the perfect time. It was just nice. I feel like if money was not an issue or time, I think I would be going there every weekend just to spend time with her. Yeah, and we are back. I'm in a university. In the university, I'm a lecturer at Daystar University. So this is my office in the university. I don't know what else to say about that. I think I've answered your question. Have we broken the ice? There's water all over the floor now because the ice has broken. Yes. Thanks for this chance to talk to Q sourcing. I know we've been talking in the past, but this group is different because you're managers. So if we are talking about whatever we are talking about and you feel like you don't agree with it, you feel like it's not in order, feel free to raise your hand and just write on the chat and say, how about this or how about that? That is the sign of adult learning. Grown-up learning is whereby it's not just about me telling you and you absorbing, it's about discussing. So yeah, let's have this discussion about business communication. Shall we begin?
Yes.
Excellent. So our topic today is effective business communication. Whenever I talk about communication, whenever I'm training, I always like to add the word effective. On your schedules, it might just be business communication, but I like putting effective because people communicate in businesses all the time, but they are not effective. So here is a description. There are many descriptions of business communication. It is the transmission of information within the organization, within the business environment. Sometimes how I usually like to describe it for my students is when we are discussing business communication here, I usually like to separate the two words. I say business, what is a business, what is communication? Business, and whatever a business is, an environment where activities are done for profit. If you are doing it for any other reason, that's not a business. If you're doing a business, if you're in an organization and maybe you're helping people, you're doing NGOs, money is still being exchanged. But if it is not for profit, it's not a business. As long as there is profit happening, it is a business. And then of course, communication is passing information from one place to the other. So business communication is any communication that happens with the eventual goal of profitability. Meaning, if you are not communicating for the sake of adding some profit to the business, you're probably not conducting business communication. So, why is business communication important? Number one, businesses depend on communication, and I think the main gist of our discussion today will be this second part here. Businesses communicate internally and externally. We are going to divide our communication discussion today into two sections. There will be the internal and there will be the external. There's also formal and informal, but we will focus more on internal and external. And internally is where now we will divide between formal and informal. So yeah, just if you are writing notes, divide, just be aware of that. We are starting first with internal and external, but back to what we are looking at right now. Why is business communication important? Number one, businesses depend on communication. Number two, businesses communicate internally and externally. Number three, individuals spend most of their time communicating, especially at the workplace. If I divided the amount of time you are doing everything between your typing and between having lunch and even those meetings, there's communication happening. Most of the things you do have communication involved in them. So you have to, there's a reason, that's another main reason why we discuss business communication. Promotions, salaries, increases, productivity relate directly to communication competence. If you are not a good communicator, chances are you will not be promoted. If you're not going to get promoted, you will not if you're not being paid equitably, you'll not have motivation, and because of the low motivation, your productivity will go down. What are the goals of business communication? Why do we communicate in a business? These are the main goals of business communication. One, to give out information, to share information, basically, either to internally or externally. Another goal of business communication, if I'm going too fast, please feel free to let me know. I can slow down. I'm just trying to be a bit time conscious. The next one is make your ideas understood. We communicate so that we can understand each other. Sometimes the reason why people are misunderstanding each other is because we are not communicating effectively. Could be anything. It could be an issue with gender differences. It could be it could be age gap, sometimes my students say some things and I'm like, what are these people talking about? Even in your company, sometimes as a manager, as a leader, you can be saying something and your people are hearing something completely different. So business communication is for the sake of helping you to be understood. And then it's also to initiate some action to get the ball rolling. If you want to, for example, to start a business transaction with a certain organization, you probably will have to send an invoice, or you will probably, first of all, jobs on LinkedIn. People are losing jobs because of LinkedIn or on social media. Formal is planned by the organization. Informal is not planned by the organization. Formal flows in all directions. Informal flows in also all directions. So both formal and informal flow up, down, and horizontal. Formal is essential for effective operation of the business. Informal is essential for developing and maintaining human relationships. Informal communication, as in sometimes if you see someone who is always very formal, they feel a bit cold and distant. You feel like you can't reach them. What is the other name for informal communication? Anyone have an idea? Some people call it, anyone, you can write it on the chat. I won't pause too much there because we're going to talk about it a bit more. But who can guess what is another name for informal communication? Anyone? If you guess it, write it there. I know that you know the name. So there's something that happens a lot in organizations. I think we cannot discuss communication without discussing culture. Culture is such a big part of communication. I think culture it defines how we interact with each other. It defines how enjoyable or unenjoyable working in a place is. Culture differentiates one. Culture, if you describe, and I like doing this also a lot when I'm describing business and different departments in an organization. If we were to define culture in terms of a company as a person, if your Q sourcing was a person, which part of the company would culture be? Imagine that Q sourcing is a human being, a living, breathing organism, and a business is actually a living, breathing organism. What are the characteristics of a living organism? They breathe, they ingest. What else? Those of you who did biology in high school what are the characteristics of living organisms?
They grow.
They grow up.
They grow, yes. What else? They ingest and they also eject. I'm trying to find a way to say it so it sounds nice. But and it removing is not just that side, it's also through your skin, through breathing. If you breathe in oxygen, you release carbon dioxide. If you ingest, you also sweat, so that releases. What other is a characteristic of a living organism? Any other? Have we mentioned them all? It grows, we've said it grows, it ingests, it excretes. I feel like there are more. Which one have we not mentioned? Well, as we are thinking about that. Yeah, someone wants to say something? Okay, as we are thinking about that, a business is exactly the same thing. Any organization is the same way. An organization breeds, it reproduces. Actually, we forgot to mention that a company reproduces, meaning if you started in one branch, what happens? There ought to be 10, 4, 5 other branches. I know Q sourcing is in Kenya and it's also in Rwanda. I think it's in Uganda as well. Is it? Am I right?
Yes, South Sudan.
Yes, it's in the East African region.
South Sudan, exactly. Meaning it reproduces and it also grows. It grows upwards, it grows horizontally. So if that is the case, if it is a living organism, I will ask again, what is culture? If you were to consider Q sourcing as a person, what role would culture play? I think yeah. Whenever you unmute yourself, I can tell. So it makes me think that someone wants to say something. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
That's John.
Yes, John.
Yes, I wanted to say something about that.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The role of the culture is that it gives the standard and the norms, do's and don'ts of a given societal and individual. So it is the standard of life. Culture gives the standard of life and the norms of which that group or that person has to abide.
Thank you for that. You have said Everything you've said is correct. But what I wanted to add on top of what you have said is culture can be described as the personality of an organization. If the organization has a culture of backstabbing and lying and cheating, that is a personality. Have you ever met someone who is just rude? It means if a company is rude, if their personality is rude, it means that customers don't like going there. If last week was customer service week, I think you're aware. Last week was customer service week, and many companies all put their best foot forward and tried to portray an image of positivity to show people like, yeah, we actually love you. You are our customers. We appreciate you. So let's look at different types of organizational culture. Therefore, that I know of, if you can come up with others, especially as it relates to communication, there are 4 main types of organizational culture. Let's start with one. The first one is power culture. If you have a culture of power, it means whoever is in power is the one who controls how you communicate in the company. So, and all communication is carried by him. So if, for example, I don't know if it has to be declared there, if there's a public holiday, usually in Kenya, what happens if there's a public holiday, the HR manager or the person in charge usually sends out an email to everyone telling them, next week, or tomorrow has been declared a public holiday by the government. It happens like that in Rwanda also, like so that people know that this day we are not working or not. In some companies they work 24. Yes, they work 24/7 in some companies. So unless the boss says that 24th and 25th we are not working, you assume that you're still going to work. Now, in a power culture, whoever is in charge controls all the information in the company. No email can be sent without approval from the CEO. No money can be given out without approval from the CEO. Hiring, firing happens with the approval of the CEO, as in everything. He's the one who has held everything. The problem with the power culture is the moment that person dies, God forbid, or the person leaves, everything falls apart. And some organizations don't survive after that. Some organizations actually crumble and die if the CEO dies. I'll give an example. There was a show that used to be aired, not even a show. Let me give a different example. There's a school not so far from here. It's actually just behind here. It's called Allen Grove. I don't know if you've ever heard of such a school. And it was run by a family, but the person who ran it mainly was the father of the family. This gentleman was, you can do research on it if you wish. This gentleman was the HR. This gentleman was the accountant. He was the one in charge of communication. He was in charge of basically everything. He was the administrator, everything. Communication, all communication flowed from this person. The moment the gentleman died, the children took over, and before we knew it, the place had shut down. As we speak, there is no Allen Grove to speak of. It's still called Allen Grove because it's a landmark, but that's not the name of the place. It shut down simply because all communication flowed from only one person. The next one is role culture. Role culture means communication flows based on people's roles. You depend on getting information from the boss at the top. Or if you want to do something, you have to approach someone who is your direct boss. There's a structure. Information passes from top down or from bottom up based on the roles in a hierarchy. If you decide, if you make the mistake of skipping someone in the hierarchy, you can even be fired. Can tell you, who do you think you are? In this company, you have to report directly to your direct boss. It's good, but it's bad in the sense that sometimes information will not reach the man at the top, which is crucial. And there can be ceilings, you know, depending on how efficient the managers, the line managers are. So you can find there's a piece of information that really needs to get to the senior manager, and the whole company depends on that piece of information. But because there's that hierarchy that has to be followed, what happens, there's a glass ceiling. And in such situations, you'll find a situation where I think our country, Kenya, at the risk of exposing our dirty linen, I think our country has this challenge whereby the president thinks sometimes, okay, let me not use our country. Let's talk about a different country, not like people like Mugabe and people like, who else can I think of? So he seems to think everything is fine, but on the ground, the situation is completely different. Why? Because you have to go through certain people in order for information to get to the top. And it goes back downwards as well. People, the managers tend to hold the information to themselves because it gives them a sense of power. So when the boss comes and tells the line managers, I want you to go and tell the people that their salaries are going to be increased. There are some managers who will not do that. They'll say, if I tell them, they won't come to work tomorrow. They'll start changing their behavior. So not, and the people at the bottom wonder, but at some point I thought the boss had said something like ABCD. Someone has held on to the information. There's a break in the information breakdown. Next one is task role. If you have a question, please feel free to ask. Task culture. Task culture is whereby information flows based on the task at hand. The pattern of communication may resemble a wheel with a strong project. For example, you only come together when we need to work. We don't care what your title is. We don't care who is the boss. If there's a project, like maybe you're supposed to go and install and do some wiring somewhere, that is the task. We'll come together, perform the task. You perform the task. Once the task is complete, our interaction ends there. We're not talking again until the next task comes about. The challenge with this task culture is often people are disconnected. People in the organization tend to be disconnected. You only come together when it is work related. You know what I mean? So if you call people to come for team building, or you call people, you say, this is the end of year party, we are going to have a party together. They won't show up. They'll be like, what's the point of us coming? Is there work that we're doing? What's my relationship with this? You'll even find people in the cafeteria only sit together when they're doing a project together. Once that project is over, you pass each other like ghosts. Such a culture is often found in market-led firms, e.g. project teams. I know that IT people also work like this a lot because they tend to be very introverted. The only thing that will push them to work together as a team is a project. Once the project is over, even they can delete the number. They really don't care after that. Then the next type of culture is person culture. Person culture is the kind of culture where every person's opinion matters. Anyone can say anything to anyone at any given time. It's almost like laissez-faire. I don't know if you've heard about, I hope I'm saying it properly, laissez-faire. I think that's how they say it in French. In this kind of culture, everyone's opinion matters. Anyone can say anything to anyone at any given time. As decisions are reached by consensus, this organization usually functions best where there is an exchange of creative ideas. Decisions are reached by consensus. Everyone has to come together and agree. If the majority do not agree, nothing will move forward. If you want to change, to make a decision, like for example, we want to buy cups for the kitchen. Good, bad example, I don't know. I'm just using it as an example. The managers want to buy new cups for the kitchen. So everyone will come together. They'll say, we are having a meeting to discuss the new cutlery in the kitchen. And then we'll come and then they'll ask, what do you think? One person will say, yeah, I like blue because blue reminds me of the sky. Another one will say red. I think I like red because red is a sign of fire. And we're all about fire. Sorry about that. Then someone else will say, I think I like yellow. So everyone's opinion matters. So after a while, they'll try and find, because the challenge with person culture, major decisions take so long to be made. It's so difficult to make a major decision about anything because you're constantly trying to please everyone. At this point, I will ask, which culture do you think runs in QSO? And by the way, they could be a mixture of all 4 cultures. Yeah, it depends on, it could be a mixture of 2, it could be a mixture of 3, it could be a mixture of all 4. Which one do you think is at Q sourcing? Anyone?
Person culture.
Person culture. Which is good. It means that your organization is not, if you're running a very big organization, person culture cannot really work. It means you are small enough for you to contact each other face to face. Do we agree with this? Is everyone in consensus that Q sourcing has person culture?
Yeah.
Do we?
Yes.
I'd like to think it's not power culture. I'd like to think it is not task culture. Okay, person culture it is. But I'm sure that you have other culture. Yes?
Yes, I was also going to add on that there is also a mixture of roles.
Meaning you have to follow a certain hierarchy to pass on certain information. Okay, that makes sense. Anyone else? Okay, so that is culture. All of those are related to formal. Now, the word that I was looking for you to mention was grapevine. Grapevine is the main type of informal communication that happens internally. According to this gentleman, Professor Keith Davis, he says, grapevine arrives it's organic. It's something that flows on its own. I hope I'm making sense. I'm sure you've heard of the word grapevine. Yes? Are we together? Someone?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Here are some types of informal networks. These are types of informal networks of how the grapevine works. There is the chain network where it comes from the bottom, the T-girl. T-girls tend to, I'm not saying all T-girls are like this, but it either comes from the T-girl or sometimes the watchman. It starts from the bottom and it flows upwards. Have you heard? Have you heard? Have you heard? Did you hear? Did you hear? It goes like that, and then finally it reaches the person at the top. The reason why there's a double line here is quite often it can stop here and go back down, because the man at the top quite often does not truly get to hear the grapevine as much. It will usually just flow here. Every now and then, it will pass this and get to the man at the top. but it's still grapevine because it is not formal. It's still just gossip. I used to work in a such, I like using this example. I used to work in a certain organization where the receptionist used to have a habit. When she comes in, and she used to be the first person in the office, she used to make a point of coming the first person in the office. She'd come in at around 7, work starts at 8, and she'd have a little black book, and she'd write the time everyone has come in, she'd write what people were wearing, she'd write who was dropped by who, she'd even go a step further and find out this person who dropped this person, where do they work? Who are they? Are they the husband? Are they the boyfriend? Are they the girlfriend? That's what she would do. And she would write all of that information. And she would make a point of carrying that information when the boss would come from traveling, because the boss traveled a lot. She'd carry that information and take to him so that the boss is aware of what is going on. So you'd be just walking, you'd be on the lift, and you happen to enter the lift with the boss one day, and he says, "Oh, how are you? Oh, thank you, Purity, for that. Maybe I can let people have a chance to respond and give us feedback. Which culture do you use at Q sourcing? Is it power, role, task, or person culture?" Let's take some time.
I see Oscar has joined us, so he can introduce himself as well and tell us one interesting thing he has done this week.
Yes, Oscar.
Oscar, it's your turn.
Hi, hi guys. Purity, I didn't get the name for the other one. Apologies for coming late. I had a meeting somewhere far from here, but I'm glad to join. You asked something interesting, or?
Yes, something interesting you've done this week.
This week, did I buy breakfast for you guys? Did I buy breakfast for my team? I think I did. Is that considered interesting?
Oh, you bought them breakfast?
Wow, I wish I was there.
That was very good. Eh?
I wish I could there.
I'm sure Oscar was happy because we came to office early that day.
Oh, so that we can have the breakfast.
We were early than usual, so he gave us, he offered a breakfast because we were good enough to come early at work.
Awesome.
That's nice.
Awesome.
We should all have such bosses. That's
yes.
amazing.
So I see for the poll, only one person has answered it. Can the others just give us their input?
As we collect our data.
Yes.
I'll give you 5 seconds to respond.
Sorry, I'm trying to click on submit, but it's not working.
It should be working because the poll is still on.
No, I see what they mean, Purity. I'm also trying, but it's not allowing you to submit.
Oh, really? Let me end it and start it again.
That's okay.
All right, you can just continue.
Okay. Another type of informal network is gossip, just general gossip. Let me see if I can do it.
Yes.
It's actually not.
All right.
Yeah, again, it's not.
Let me just.
I think it's an issue with your settings. Maybe just you can. I'm sure you'll figure it out.
Okay. Sawa, thanks.
Okay. The next type of informal network is gossip. Just from it's like an amoeba. You've heard of that organism? It takes all shapes. It started from one person. Someone just came up with something and told whoever, and it spreads. You can't really tell where it started and where it ended. This, I think, is the most common type of grapevine. You don't know who started it. Only the person who started it knows that they started it. But sometimes you can start a rumor and it comes back to you, and then you start like, maybe it's actually true. You start suspecting that your rumor, what you started as a rumor, is actually the real thing. you know, you start doubting yourself. Have you ever met a person who is such a liar that they start believing their own lies? That is the nature of such a person who likes to gossip. Then the next type is probability. Probability is the kind of network where you start, it probably gets to this X person. You're talking about something that is abstract. Have you heard that there is someone who stole this, this, and this, and this? Then you start speculating. Maybe it is so-and-so from accounting. How about me? Or did you hear that so-and-so is dating, the boss is dating someone from accounting? Then you start speculating. Maybe it is that chick who is the receptionist. I usually see the way she dresses. Someone else says, maybe it is that chick from this and this. They usually behave in such a way. You try and start speculating and narrowing it down to a certain person, and no one never really guesses who it is. Probability usually has a basis in truth, but you don't know, it's missing certain information. There are gaps. You see what I mean? There are gaps in that information. So everyone is speculating. Maybe they say next week someone. Amen. Amen. Thank you. I believe that in your heart you've said it, even if you're not saying it out loud. So maybe someone starts a rumor and says, next week someone is getting fired. So someone says, who is it? Who could it be? Maybe it's so-and-so because you know the way she's always coming late. Perhaps it's so-and-so because so-and-so is always, you know, is always running around, you know, gossiping. Maybe it's so-and-so because, you know, she's been around in the company for so long, and I heard the boss say that they've been in the company for so long. Everyone keeps speculating. The last type is cluster. Cluster is the one for cliques. Cluster is where you have, you know, maybe the slay queens of the organization, the slay queens in the company, they sit together, and then there's the IT people, they cluster together. Then there's maybe the HR people, they cluster together. So they gossip based on their clusters, in their small groups, in their small clusters. And sometimes, in order for you to hear the grapevine for each department, you have to join that department. And you'll be surprised. Sometimes you get into that department and then they say, oh, you're that person from accounting. We hear that you do ABCD. And you're like, what? We are the ones who thought you guys are the ones who do it. You move from one cluster to the other and realize that one piece of information has been distorted based on the different clusters. I hope I'm making sense. So these are the different types of informal networks. Every organization is different, but the grapevine, again, is just like communication. In any organization, it's a living thing. It has life. It has the ability to raise your organization. It has the ability to destroy it. Companies have been destroyed. Oh, I repeat, on the chain network. The chain network is whereby it starts from the bottom. Thank you, Lydia, for the question. Chain network is whereby it starts from the bottom and it climbs upwards. And I said the reason why there's a double line here is sometimes, or most often, it never gets to the person at the top. The example I use, or maybe I can use a different kind of example, is you have maybe the watchman, the security guard. He starts a rumor. As people are coming in, he starts a rumor at the bottom. People at the bottom, they hear something. The people at the bottom tell it to the line manager. The line manager goes and tells his boss. The boss goes and tells, have you heard? Have you heard? Have you heard? And then eventually it gets to the person at the top. Many times, because the person at the top often is very disconnected to what is happening at the bottom, it might just stop here at D, here. Many times with chain networks, it gets to here. So later on, when the boss decides to get someone, what usually happens, the boss decides, let me get to know my people a bit better. Do not be fooled. Many managers, and I'm sure some of you do the same thing. Many managers, how they try to get information down here. What do? They say, to this week, I'm taking everyone for drinks. And then he says it's open bar. Anyone, you can drink whatever you want. Drink to your heart's content. It's on me. He's not just doing that just for the sake of it. And you'll find the boss is usually not drinking as much. He wants you to loosen up, and then he wants you to come and sit with him and tell you stories. That's a way of, and one of the rules of management is information or knowledge is power. Sometimes you have to resort to that to get to know your people. Because when you're sitting at the top, people pretend. I see it a lot. I've had a chance of working with many people, many senior MDs, CEOs at the top. And many times when you tell them things, they're shocked. If I tell them about, say, Lydia, because I've seen your name there, if I go and tell the boss, Lydia is hardworking and this, they'll say, really? From my assessment of her, I've just been looking at her and she just seems lazy. Or so-and-so is very outspoken. He's the one who is usually the ambassador. The boss says, wow, really? I thought she is the most quiet person in the department. People pretend around authority. Do you agree with me? What I'm saying, does it make sense? People pretend.
Sure.
Yeah, people pretend around the bosses a lot. So you will give you'll give the boss the impression that you're always working. An example, a very good example. Sometimes there are those people who come to the office and they just spend time on Facebook, on Instagram. They're like this the whole day. The moment the boss passes, you see someone. Or they pick up the phone and they put it here and they say, yeah, okay, that's okay. The order is coming in. What time? Okay, thanks. The moment the boss passes. So what the bosses do sometimes, every now and then, you take time and sometimes you do it as a group. Sometimes you see the boss decides to take someone on this alone. The boss decides, let me take Purity, for example, because I'm seeing her in front of me. Or let me take Paul for lunch. He says, Paul did a very good job last week. Today, Paul, lunch is on me. Let's go, lunchtime. And Paul is excited. And then you go there and then the boss, and you notice you are the one who is doing most of the talking, not the boss. So you go for the lunch, and then he says, okay, so how is working at Q sourcing? First you'll start, are you married? Yes. You have children? Okay, how many kids? 2 kids? That's nice. He warms you up, he softens you up. And after a while, he starts asking you, okay, tell me about your department. Why do you like working at your department? It's because I like working at my department because it is, people are friendly, people help each other. Oh, okay. Tell me, who is your favorite friend person? Who is the most hardworking? Like that. Why? Because of this bridge here. There is often a bridge. The grapevine can help you gain information that formal communication might not be able to get you. I'm not saying that now you take people for drinks. I'm just saying informal settings help people to open up and speak more freely. Because not only do people pretend around authority, people are also sometimes afraid of authority. And it goes both ways. When you're going to learn your people, sometimes it's a chance for you to reveal yourself to your people. Your team will come to discover, oh, okay, you're not as harsh as people thought. You're actually quite friendly. You actually have a heart for people. Or you can, the way there are some bosses who like shouting at people. If you have that informal discussion, the people discover, okay, he might shout at us, but he's actually not so bad. He's just passionate. He just loves his job. So when he shouts at us, it's just so that we can deliver. He wants to push us to the next level. Any questions on these types of informal networks? Any? Okay, let's continue. Okay, here are the negative side effects of the grapevine. First of all, I don't know if you can see this box right here. It says 47% of employees would place more credence in messages heard over the grapevine compared to speech from company. formal communication is it's like it's been washed and ironed. By the time it presented to you, they know that what they're presenting is not probably what is happening in the background. That is why 47% of employees would place more credence in messages heard over grapevine compared to speech from the company leader. Here are the negative side effects of grapevine. Number one, creates lack of trust in the workplace. The stronger the grapevine, the healthier the grapevine, the less the trust is in the company. This is where you start hearing things like, hey, when you go to that company, don't talk to anyone. Keep your stories to yourself. Even if you've slept hungry, you die alone. Don't tell anyone, because you never know who. I don't know if you've ever heard of such information, such discussions. You never know who is listening, and you never know where they will use the information against you. That is grapevine. Another one is partial or false information in the workplace. People are using half-baked information to work with. So sometimes what happens when they go outside there, whatever they discuss internally is probably the same thing that they'll discuss externally. How it goes is something like, you did not hear it from me, but ABCD, misinformation. So what happens? Your customers externally also end up getting wrong information. Sometimes also information overload. If the grapevine is too healthy, people get too many versions. Remember where you were saying everyone, that's this type here, one where there's just general gossip. Sometimes everyone from A to J to L can come up with their own version of the same story. So you're like, so who do I listen to? Do I listen to the one who is saying we are going home next week? Do I listen to the one who is saying we're going home next month? Who do I listen to? It's too much information to process. So you end up, whenever someone employees have too much information to process, what happens? They freeze, they stall. The productivity either stops or slows down, because you're not sure what to believe. You don't know if you should move forward, you don't know if you move backwards, you don't know if you should move sideways. You're constantly looking for the next piece of information to help you to move forward, and it can stunt the organization altogether. It causes maintaining of secrecy. There are too many secrets all over the place. It creates lack of, you as a manager, you need control over your people. If the grapevine is too strong, you lose control over your people. Control another word for control is influence. Actually, I would prefer the word influence. Control sounds like a dictator. Influence, what is influence? Who can tell me what influence is? I've typed it there. What is influence? I say I'm influential. What does that mean? Anyone? Anyone? I'm sure you've heard about the word influence. They say there's usually a list that comes out. Most please unmute yourself, Lydia. Just say what you mean, please.
Exemplary.
Like, being a role model, exemplary.
Yes, and you give examples to other people. That's true. That is being influential. I'm sure you've seen those lists of the most influential 20 under 20. And the number one on the list is people like Kylie Jenner, if you know about her. The most influential people in Africa. Who is the most influential person in Africa? For the longest time, it was Nelson Mandela. Who is one of the most influential people in the world is people like Barack Obama. When you say influence, it means people do things the way you would want them to, even when you're not there, because they respect you so much. They respect your opinion so much that they want to do things the way you want them to, even when you're not there. For example, an example of a person who has influence is Oprah Winfrey. When her show was still running, if Oprah said that these are my favorite things, I hope everyone knows who Oprah Winfrey is. If you don't know her, I know you have cell phones. Google is your friend. Oscar says the ability to impact people through your actions. Thank you. Very good. Perfect. People are watching you. As a leader, you have influence. some degree of influence over your people. People are watching. So now a good example is, okay, let me use the example of Oprah and then I come back to this other example I was using. When Oprah would say that I like, say for example, I like these kinds of books. This is a diary. And this, she says, I like blue books. All of a sudden, all of those books, if you go to the shop, they're gone because people have bought them. This lady, the Princess Kate Middleton, when there's a dress that she put on her daughter. Her name is, what's the name of Kate Middleton, the daughter? I've forgotten the name. Good heavens. Anyway, she dressed her in some dress from some organization. Okay. Yeah, look. I'm on. Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. You know I'm in the office. Yes, thank you for that, Queen. Charlotte, exactly. That is the name that I was looking for. Yeah. The name I was looking for is Charlotte. When she dressed her in that dress, the dress sold out within minutes. Why? Because she's influential. Her actions affect the way people behave. Now, if the grapevine is so strong in your company, you lose influence over your people. So if you tell people, I need you guys to show up to work on Saturday, you're not going to be paid for it, but I just need you guys to show up. Someone else will say, hey, someone will come up with a gossip and say, he's saying that, but he's not going to show up. You know, you lose influence over your people. As a leader, I think one of the biggest things that you should aim to gain over your people is influence. Because it means even when you're not there, I don't know if you ever heard about the Safaricom CEO. His name was Bob Collymore. If you don't know about him, please look him up. He was one of the most influential CEOs. And at some point, he got cancer. He got cancer and he went to London for a year. He was not actively in service for a whole year. But can you believe that the whole year that this guy was away, his business, the company grew almost exponentially. Why? What did he do? He said he had 10 managers who managed everything. If he needed to ask a question, all he did, he would even say, don't ask me for a job. I don't hire people. If you want a job, I have my HR manager who is in charge of that. So what he did, he managed his 10 people. Those 10 people had a team, those teams like that, it trickled down like that. Communication would trickle down like that. So even when he died, the company did not collapse. As we speak, Safaricom is one of the most, I think in East and Central Africa, I think it's the most profitable company in East and Central Africa. I could be wrong. Someone can confirm those numbers. But he was like one of the most influential people I can think of. Let's jog through the last two. Lack of cooperation also. It causes lack of cooperation. Employees may end up not being aligned to the company's goals. So how do we tackle the grapevine? How to manage the grapevine? Number one, these are 6 ways to deal with the grapevine as a manager. Number one, always keep your employees informed. The problem with many managers is they think information gives me power. So if I give information, it's like I'm releasing some of my power. Have you ever noticed people like that? So you go to them and you ask them, so you tell us, the people are coming to you, your people are coming and asking, tell us what is the next move. You don't want to tell them. You release information in bits, like you give crumbs, little crumbs here and there, so that you think that if I keep all the information to myself, I'll be powerful. If I give you all of the information, you'll come one day and you'll overthrow me and you'll become more senior than me. That's a very bad way. Let me tell you, as a leader, we also do leadership training. I think Purity has told you. As a leader, you should always be thinking about how you will raise people who will exceed you. There's one of my mentors once told me, You are not successful until your successors have succeeded. Have you heard that before? You're not successful until your successors have succeeded. So, meaning, in fact, he went a step further and he said, you're not successful until your successors have succeeded you. Meaning, they should outpass you. Your children should do better than you, because you have poured so much into them, so much wisdom into them, that they're so well equipped. They won't make the same mistakes that you made. They will make more connections that you made. That is the mark of a great leader or a great manager. So keep your employees informed. Let them know. In fact, sometimes you survive difficult times. You know, this COVID season, there are many companies which have had to shut down, or if it's not shutting down, they have had to get pay cuts. I'm sure you've heard of such things. The best way to manage such a situation, most companies survive a crisis because the person at the top is constantly talking to them. Let them know, tell them, guys, things are tough. Things are tough. Here are the numbers. Sometimes it gets to that point. You have to be black and white with your people and tell them, guys, this is the situation. Things are thick. If we don't do A, B, C, D, this and this is going to happen. And they'll even ask you, so what can we do to help? A good manager will ask something like, what do you guys suggest that I do? And then you open up people to, remember, you've told me that you guys are a person culture. So everyone's opinion matters. So they'll say, how about we try this? How about we try that? How about we try this? After they have given their opinions, you tell them, okay, this is what we discussed. And for everything they say, if you have an objection, give a realistic objection. Let them know, if we do that, this is going to happen. If we do that, it will cost us money and we don't have it, like that. You give the objections, valid objections. Then after that, you say, how about this is what I think we should do? And you explain to them. From there, you go forward. Many companies who survive crises survive because the person at the top kept their people informed. It even builds trust. It makes you feel like you're part of the team. Yeah. Number two, choose the right communication channels to build trust with your employees. Don't send an SMS where you should send an email. Don't send an email where you should send an SMS. Don't make a phone call where you could write something on WhatsApp. I'm sure you guys have WhatsApp groups. Don't speak through a third party when you could easily just call the person to the office and have a conversation with them. Speak one-on-one. There are some times where you have to, especially if it's a big group, you call the line manager and they pass on the information. But there are some times you can literally just call the person, so and so, come and see me in my office. And then you come and you sit and you have the conversation. A good example, we used to have a lady in the office, the office where I used to work. She used to be a fan of dressing in such short dresses. It was almost scandalous. As in, have you ever seen someone wearing a short skirt to the point you don't even think she can bend? You wonder if you know that if she bends, you will see her last name. And that was her dress code. She used to like dressing like that. She used to wear high heels like this, 6-inch heels, and her dresses used to be short. Short as in almost to the point you're feeling pain for her. When she sits, guys in the office, the men in the office would even sometimes just stand up to leave, because it was so bad. Such a person, call them directly to the office. That's what ended up happening, because it became such a cause for concern. And such a person, if you, like me, if you're my colleague directly, if we are peers, if I come and tell you, oh, what is that you're wearing? What will you think in such a situation? What do you think she will think if a peer comes and tells her clothes are too short? What do you think she will think? Anyone? Anyone? If we sit in the same office together, we are on the same pay grade, we are colleagues, we are actually equal, and I come and tell you, oh, those skirts that you are wearing are too short. What do you think she will think?
What were you looking
at? Sorry? Say that again, sorry.
What were you looking at?
What were you looking at? Exactly. That's one. What else? If it's a woman to a woman, what will she think?
You're jealous.
Exactly. She'll think that you're jealous. So in such a situation, what will happen? The top manager, whoever is in charge, is the one to call this person and tell them, hey, my friend, you know, for the sake of people around here, let's try and cover up a bit. Choose the right communications to build trust with your employees. If you don't do that, you destroy trust. Number 3, eliminate information overload in the workplace. Sometimes you give out too much and they don't know what to work with. If you have a strategic plan, and most managers do, even communication requires a strategic plan. You can't give, there's some information that is meant for management positions, for management level. There is some information that is for people at the bottom. Don't share what is from people at the top with the people at the bottom. They might not understand. It might even destroy them. If you're planning on laying off some people, don't share such information until the time is right. Give just the right amount of information. There is this statistic that I have put here. Most employees spend 2.5 hours per day searching for information that they need. The key word is the information that they need. In the workplace, give information that is required. Some information is not necessary. In fact, sometimes you'll give information that was not necessary and later on, it's not useful, it's discarded. How do you become a good person at knowing what information to share? It's practice. I can't truly teach you how to pick and choose. This is now what distinguishes a good leader or a good manager from the other. You know, it's called, and I usually, I'm yet to see a training that I go without mentioning this word. The word is tactfulness. Tactfulness. Especially when now I'm speaking to leaders. What is tactfulness? Tactfulness is finding a smart way of doing things. A person who is tactful always finds smart ways of doing things. Can I teach you how to be tactful? I can't. The only way you can become tactful as a manager is to practice. Trial and error. Try this way. If it doesn't work, try another way. The more you try to do things, the more experience you gain, the better, the more tactful you become. When I say that you are, like for example, if there's a job description somewhere and I say, I want a person who has 2 years experience, what am I really saying? I am saying, in 2 years, this person has faced enough amount of problems and come up with enough solutions to be able to handle this job. That's really what I'm saying. In that role, you have 2 years of accumulated amount of challenges that you have resolved or that you have been exposed to. Maybe you're not the one who resolved them. You have been exposed to a certain amount of challenges that you are ready to handle a certain role. And this comes from tactfulness. Let me see our time. Yeah, we're still good. We are on the right track. Number 4, engage your employees on a day-to-day basis. Two-way daily conversations, they are needful. Two-way daily conversations have to happen. Whether it's from top to bottom, whether it's sideways, conversations have to be had. Do not be afraid of interacting with your people. Your people are the ones who, as a manager, as a leader, your people are your bread and butter. Talk to them. This number 5, I think, is the most important one. Spot your internal influencers. If you look at these, I think I like coming back to this because it is helping us. If you look at this, in every type of network, there is the influencer. There is that one person who everyone looks to gather the information. You know what I'm talking about. There is the office gossip. If you want certain information, every manager knows there is a certain person in the office who you can trust to share that kind of information. You know what I'm talking about? Give me feedback. You know what I'm talking about? Anyone? You know the person in each cluster who is the most influential, the one who carries the most amount of gossip, the one who is the linchpin of the grapevine. Am I making sense? Anyone?
Yes.
Okay. Spot them. Bring them close here. Those are the people who you put next to you. Such people can be very valuable. Not to say that you now encourage them to be that way, but there's always a smart way of keeping this person close to you so that even if they generate information, they do it in a way that is manageable, but they always come to you. If there's any type of gossip, you get it from this person. So you're able to manage what information you give out. Yeah, so spot your influencers and use them to your advantage. Number 6, implement the right communication technology. Use the right types of forums, whether it's emails, whether it is blogs, or not blogs, sorry, intranet. There's something, I don't know if companies still use the intranet. Intranet meaning internal chats where you can interact with each other. Before we go to external communication, let's look at a general type of structure in every organization. This is pretty much standard. Yours could be different. Most times, information either flows upwards or downwards or horizontally. Does yours look like this? Does it? What does yours look like?
It's more or less the same, just that I think the second line of command is more or less, or the 4 at the same level. But again, it's bottom top, in some areas down top, and across also it works because we are still a small team here at the head office.
Of course.
So I would think that it's more, it gives us it's a picture that is clear to us.
Thank you so much for that. This is a pretty standard structure of organizational information. It usually flows up, down, left, right. It ought to be flowing like that on a daily basis, all the time. If at any point there is a clog somewhere, like for example, if this person here is not sharing information, what would happen? Whether upwards or downwards or horizontally, this person, let's imagine, like think about it like a pipe. If a pipe is put on this operations person and you block it, what will happen? Anyone? What would happen in such a situation?
The flow of communication stops, and I guess some people don't get the information that they're supposed to get, hence making some wrong decisions, or someone assumes that this was supposed to be done this way.
And it happens sometimes, right? Sometimes some managers hold on to information to make themselves look good. Instead of sharing like especially when it comes to challenges or problems, you decide not to share the challenges to the person at the top. They won't be able to make the right decisions, especially where like KPIs, key performance indicators are involved. Performance is key. So when it comes to performance, especially now, competition usually comes at this level. Every end of the year, you hear the best department is maybe marketing department. Once you put that into place, what ends up happening? These guys here are very protective of information, especially when it is going to the person at the top, because everyone wants to look good. Yeah. Let's look at external channels of communication. Do we have any questions to do with internal communication? Any questions to do with internal communication? Are we good?
Just one thing.
Yeah.
Just highlight like an example on what you mentioned, like what should go on WhatsApp should be on WhatsApp, what goes on email should go on email. In our office, we have an open door policy, and actually none of us, myself, even one of the directors who sits in the office, no one has a door. We are open. We are like in an open place. Now, it has its advantages on a bigger scale, but we've realized it can also have its negative or its challenges. Is it yesterday or a day before where we had a meeting and we were like, Lydia sent us an email and we did not respond, and then someone mentioned that actually we met. I told her that it's okay because we are open, people meet or they are on the same desk. So sometimes you end up thinking that you communicated because you are sharing lunch with someone and you told them that email, I saw it, I'm in. So I think it's very critical to know that indeed what should be on email should be shared on email. Sometimes these things can be referenced on. What should be on WhatsApp goes on WhatsApp. I feel it's a critical point that I wanted to emphasize.
I agree with you. It is. The reason I have not dwelt there so much is it's such a complicated issue. And then it also goes with culture. There's some organizations where the culture is that of, it's very like the person culture can be good and bad. It's good in the sense that everyone has an opinion, but it's also bad in the sense that many times everyone is protecting their own interests. So what will happen sometimes, they will not share the information where necessary. People are protective of, everyone is protective of their piece of information. So for example, I have seen situations where Purity, I think, you remember there was a situation where we trained in such an organization.
Yes.
And they were giving an example of people went out. They are in a WhatsApp group.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Yes. People went out, and then the manager decided to come on the WhatsApp group and tell people, so and so, you were spotted in such a place. You were being very rowdy, really enjoying yourself. Exposing himself to people. This was like, why couldn't you have just called me and told me, you have been seen? Maybe in the future you want to reconsider some of the places that you go. You see my example. You as a leader, which forum, the way you communicate could make or break the connection of your organization. In some situations, the person can decide to sometimes because of personal communication, we can agree. We can go for lunch and we agree. We say, okay, tomorrow we are going to have a meeting at this and this time. Your team and mine is going to have a meeting at this and this time. Because we think we are getting along with each other. What happens? One of us goes to the office after lunch and, life just happens. The business of the company just gets overwhelming. And what happens? You forget. Tomorrow, we come to have a meeting. My team shows up for the meeting, yours does not. When I call you, you say, hey, but we did not have that kind of a meeting. In such a situation, what should have happened? After the discussion will happen face to face in a discussion. An email should have followed up. An email saying, following to our conversation, we have agreed that we shall have a meeting between your department and mine. Kindly confirm that you are in agreement. Some things can just be spoken one-on-one like this, and that's it. Some things you need to put on an email to make it concrete, especially formal things. Especially, remember at the beginning, we said that the point of our business is to make profit. If it is an issue that will affect the productivity or the profitability of a company, it needs to be put in writing. Otherwise, you can put yourself up to scrutiny. People have lost jobs because of communication. People are supposed to show up at a certain place. It happens sometimes. Purity will tell you where you agreed with a certain manager that you are going to have a training on such and such a day. When the day arrives, you show up for the training, but people don't show up. Why? Because the manager just spoke about it 2 weeks ago in passing. She said, next week we're going to have a training at this and this place. And so make sure you show up. People forget. What happens? The time is wasted. Our time is wasted. You know, resources are wasted because sometimes you have booked a hall that is supposed to also provide food, and the food has already been prepared. Invoices have already been sent. You know, it messes everything. I will go back to this word, tactfulness. You have to, the more you try, the more you do these things. And then of course, you're also in this training, so you're learning. There are some things that are supposed to be put on email. There's some things that are supposed to be put on WhatsApp. There's some things that can be discussed face to face. There's some things that can be put even externally out on a board for everyone to see. I hope I've answered your question. Purity, do you have anything you would like to add to that?
I think especially on the issue of WhatsApp and emails, the line today is becoming very blurry. Like you're not so sure what goes on WhatsApp, you're also not so sure what goes on email. But for me, what I like, even if I do something on WhatsApp, I just follow it up on email. Or even if I do on email, I just follow it up on WhatsApp to make sure you've received the email. You see, because today it's becoming very, very, very blurry. You're not so sure what goes on WhatsApp, what goes on email, because today also WhatsApp is used as a formal means of communication. So, and you can't also assume everyone has WhatsApp. That's another thing, because you can share maybe a message on group chats, yet not all of them access the same information. So just the way you're saying tactfulness, just try to find a balance between the two. Because myself, I know I use WhatsApp a lot, but I also do the same on email. Like once I drop you a message on WhatsApp, I'll follow it up on email. Kindly check my email, I've dropped you something there. Then they confirm, or either they confirm on email, they confirm on WhatsApp. So just use tactfulness just to know what goes. The most social, or I also know some groups are very social. Workplace groups are very, very social. So now that one becomes also a more challenging, because you see, if you're more social, you might put something serious on WhatsApp and people don't take it seriously. So just gauging how relatable or how close your group is in terms of formal and informal communication, then you'll know. For our group, for people to take things seriously, we have to put it on email. Or if our group as well considers WhatsApp as a formal means of communication, it takes the day as well. So just I also think it comes with practice, because if you do something on WhatsApp once and people don't take it seriously, next time I'll be very keen not to put something as well on WhatsApp. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. One way to gain tactfulness is having a mentor in the office. Once you get your job, identify someone who you admire, someone who you look up to, your line manager. The first month or so, don't be afraid. You know, many people, when they start their job, they're afraid to ask questions. Great leaders love people to ask them, tell me, I have this challenge, I'm trying to fix it. After the first month, you and your boss start thinking the same. And it doesn't take much to make such decisions. So now go up to him and ask, I want to tell people to come for a training. Should I send them an email or should I send them WhatsApp? He'll tell you. A good leader will tell you. If he doesn't help you, find someone else to mentor you and who you trust to mentor you, and ask them, I'm trying to inform my people, but I know some people might not see. What do you think I should do? Should I send them an email? Should I write them an SMS? They'll guide you. Don't live like an island. No one ever became successful on their own. If anyone, this whole concept that I hear these days of self-made this and self-made that, it's a fallacy. No one becomes anyone on their own. You have to, people stand on the backs of someone. It's a must. Especially as a manager, at some point you will need someone's guidance and someone's help in order for you to become that great person that you need to be. Let's look at external communication very quickly. Tips to support external communications. Be relatable. This, of course, external communication is all about communicating with people externally, your external environment, your customers, your potential customers, your suppliers, your investors, shareholders, and society. I think external communication, as much as possible, needs to stay formal. Would you agree? As much as possible, because externally someone can hold you to, they can take you they hold you to litigation. The implications are higher if you discuss something informally to someone externally as opposed to internally. So as much as possible, external communication should be formal. Some tips to support external communication. The definition, you can add this or you can ignore it. But one, be relatable to your external customers. Be as relatable to them as possible. Don't create a brand that no one can identify with. Every brand has a target market. Every brand has a target audience who you want to speak to. So make yourself as relatable as possible. Number two, know the value of repetition. When you're communicating externally, especially to a big crowd of people, repeat, repeat, repeat. That is the whole thing behind advertising. Because you know that the first time someone hears about it, they'll hear it in passing, won't think about it. The next time they'll hear it, they'll pay attention. The third time they'll hear it, they'll be like, hey, and which advertisement is this that we keep seeing all the time? Same with emails. Sometimes your route of advertising is through email. Share as many emails as possible. I usually see someone who I usually admire in that area is Purity. When she's advertising, when she's letting us know about our trainings, first of all, she put it on WhatsApp. Then she'll put it on Facebook. On the day of, she'll send out a reminder, repetition, because people have so much in their minds, they forget. You want people to constantly think about you. Repetition does that. Listen to people, your customers, your external customers, and respond. Don't just listen and do nothing with the information. Don't just listen and say, so now these people, they're always complaining. What do they want us to do about it? Listen and also take negative, especially negative feedback. Take it and do something to fix it. If you only are hearing positive feedback, there's a problem. If you're not getting any feedback at all, none at all, there's even a bigger problem, because it means that your customers, your external community cannot get in touch with you. Make sure, that is why you see most big companies have several avenues for you to reach them. You can reach them via WhatsApp, you can reach them via SMS, you can reach them via email, you can reach them via social media, and even in social media, they're on Twitter, Instagram, what else? Instagram, even on YouTube these days, you can give your feedback to a video as it goes along. Give as many avenues for them to give you feedback and use that feedback to your advantage. Have a unique voice. Don't decide that, like, for example, having a brand ambassador, for example, like a good example of a brand ambassador, perfumes use brand ambassadors a lot. Like you'll see those of us who like perfumes and colognes, there's this perfume called Lancôme. I hope I'm saying it properly. Lancôme, the brand ambassador, I think, is Julia Roberts. And then you see Yves Saint Laurent. I don't know if I'm saying it properly. They will use someone like, say, Matthew McConaughey. They use those people to distinguish. to make the brand look distinguishable. I don't think that is an option that is realistic for you. All I'm saying is, don't present yourself like you're just like everyone else. Present yourself like you're unique. That is why branding is important. That is why it is important for you to have merchandise like branded t-shirts, branded pens, branded, branded everything. It gives you a unique voice. And speaking is not just, a voice is not just for speaking. A voice is also in the image that you portray. Then remember video. What do I mean by remember video? Take advantage of using videos to reach your external customers. YouTube is a very popular forum. Use Instagram, use, all of those. People respond to visuals. So when you want to get in touch with you, especially like, for example, in a crisis, like maybe you've had a situation where maybe there's been a fire and people have died. God forbid, spit that bad luck, but just an example like that. You could write a statement and post it on social media, but there's nothing more connecting than having a person speaking to people, actually having a audible something that they can look at and see, okay, these people really care that this thing has gone wrong. I'm about to wind up. How to radically improve your external communication strategy. And I hope we have a strategy. Number one, this is a basic 3-step strategy. Number one, know your audience. Number two, just like internally, externally also, choose the right platform. And then 3, don't just brag, deliver. If you are telling your audience, who is your audience? It's probably corporates. If you're telling them that we are the best in East and Central Africa, behave like you're the best in East and Central Africa. Don't just, it's in everything that you do, the way you present yourself, the way you send out emails, the way you put out, all of that. All these 3, know your audience, choose the right platform, whether it's social media or whatever, and don't just brag, deliver, under promise and over deliver. Don't over promise and under deliver. I'm sure you've heard this before. Thank you. That is it from me for today. I think I have kept time and I've left some time for us for questions and answers. Did I do okay in time purity?
Yes, very, very much okay. Thank you so much, Dorothy. That was, I believe, very, very insightful. I hope the team is able to take away a few points from this session and be able to practice as well. So here we open the forum for any questions that you might have, either based on the presentation or any questions you came with for the session you kept asking yourself. Like now we are doing our business communication. So
thank you, Purity. Thank you, Dorothy.
Yes.
My question is simple.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask it a bit earlier when we were talking about external channels of communication.
Yes.
I wanted to ask Dorothy.
Yes.
To help us understand or even relate communication, like business communication and execution, like execution of like making our ideas understood, like you can communicate, because let's say I'm sending out an email for your information, for your action, for your advice. So how can how can you help us improve our communication, be it me who is trying to communicate to the other party? How can I force a response from them?
Okay. Yes. I think it goes back to these 3 steps. First of all, know who your audience is. There are some people who respond immediately, especially the senior managers. I know of CEOs, MDs, general managers, they actually go to the office early just to respond to emails. Someone will show up in the office at 4 o'clock. 4 a.m. in the morning, just to go and respond to emails and stuff like that. So people at the top, generally, that challenge is not there. But the lower you go on the ladder, especially as you go to this bottom pyramid, the challenge is big when it comes to responding. Now, this is where the second part comes in. What is the best channel? With senior managers, emails is fine because even if he's traveling to London or wherever, he'll just, emails are connected to the phone. So wherever they are in the world, they will respond. But if it is people like, you know, the people who you're working under, that is now where these days we have so many channels to respond to them. This is now where you go on WhatsApp and you tell them, I have sent an email. But for those who have not seen the email, this is a reminder. If WhatsApp is not working, send an SMS, because some people don't have smartphones, especially here at the bottom. You send out SMSs and tell people, just a reminder, we are having a staff meeting tomorrow at this and this time. In fact, you even have to go a step forward and you stand in front of people like this and say, guys, before you go home, please remember that this and this is happening. You know what each person responds to. That is maybe like internally. Externally, who is your audience? If you are selling very high-end things, how are you going to advertise to them? You're going to use even the channel that you advertise on. It's very important. You go on DSTV. If you're maybe advertising a brand such as Mercedes, for example, where are your customers? They're usually on major channels. They watch CNN, they watch BBC, they watch such. The lower you go, the more. In Kenya, for example, if I want to advertise something to the common man, I'll go on radio. I'll probably go on a station. We have a station here called Classic 105. I'll probably go there because most of the working nation is usually on the commute to work in the morning. So I know that more people are going to get that information. And then whatever it is that you say to them, let it deliver. I mean, let it be realistic. Don't give unrealistic information. Don't say things that you know is not real. Different calibers. Yeah, go ahead, Purity.
I think for me also will be, especially if you want an action from them, and I also find myself doing this a lot, you put a deadline, like kindly respond to this email either by close of business, or I also like saying, if you're not the right person, kindly direct me to the right person to respond. So you see, as much as that response may not come to the initial person you sent the email, or the initial person you requested the information from, if they're not the right person, they should direct you to the next or the correct person to be able to get instant email. And then Dorothy, I doubt if we discussed about smart
communication goals.
Yes, smart communication, where S stands for be very, very specific.
Specific, yes.
In terms of your message, be very clear from the word go what you want. Also, M is normally measurable. If you need any information in terms of quantities or in terms of quality, just make it very measurable. A, attainable, that information or the action you've assigned to the next person, it's attainable, it's within their reach. For example, if you put the deadline as Friday, it's realistic. I think it's Queen who was talking about a deadline that came short of maybe like a month. Was it realistic? Was it attainable? So there we discuss about realistic as well. Is it realistic for you as the person who is requesting for the information, and also for the other person who is supposed to give you that information? Then make it time bound. Do you need by close of the month, close of the day, close of the week? Just
within
make sure
the hour.
Within the hour as well. And then also, I think something else we also missed, sorry for this, is 5WH. This one we talk about it everywhere we go.
Yes. Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Yes. The what, where, Why?
When?
Yes. What's missing? When and
when?
who?
And how?
And are those 5? Yes, and how? So whichever, whenever you're trying to disseminate information, either for the other people to use it, or you also want that information to give you more information back, are you able to answer all those 5 questions within your action? Like, what do you want? Where do you want it? Why do you want it? When do you want it? Whom do you want it from? Because another challenge I see with corporates, an email has 10 people, and as a salutation, you say, hi all. So you see, when you say hi all, it becomes very big. You really don't know who is.
People disconnect themselves from it.
From that communication, and especially if it's an urgent matter, you like let the next person answer it. But you see, if an email has like 10 recipients and you say, dear Purity, following our conversation, I expect this by the end of the day. The other 9 will know this email is not for us, it's meant for Purity. I hope this answers your question. If not, we are still here to explore more choices in terms of actions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That's very insightful. Thank you, guys.
Yes.
I think in closing, the important thing I would like to say about effective communication, it's more about quality than quantity.
Yes.
Give good information. Information is good when it is relevant, when it is realistic, and there are 3 R's of it. It's realistic, it's proper information, it's correct, it's realistic, and it's concrete. Don't give out information, too much information, and then all the information that you've given out, people only need 2 things: quality versus quantity. And I think that applies to pretty much everything in management. So quality versus quantity. You know, I can spend a whole day in the office, but what have I done? I've really done nothing. Meanwhile, someone else can be in the office for 3 hours. They've sent out 10 emails, and those 10 emails will bring in billions of business. Learn how to, you know, quantify your information.
All right.
Yeah, that's it for me. Thanks.
Okay, I think we still have maybe 1 more minute or a few more minutes to answer any other burning question from the team.
Okay.
Any question, any burning issue, or anything you felt that we've not covered under effective business communication? Alex, anything?
Nothing so far. Everything is comprehensible.
Awesome. So I think I want to declare this training session over or come to an end. That's our contact information, just in case you feel something was not clear. Queen.
Purity.
Yes, please. We can't hear you, Queen.
Yeah, yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, better.
Yes.
Yes, for me, it's not a question. It's just to appreciate this training.
Yes.
I believe for us, as a team, it's the first time we've done this training of business communication together as a team.
Yes.
And it's very important for us because we are a consulting company and we work with clients, different clients. And I've managed to get some insightful points, and that I believe I think I saw some of the weaknesses that I have in communicating.
Yes.
And I hope all of us, it can help us in the future. Yes, thank you very much.
Awesome, Queen. Anyone who has closing remarks? Yes, Lydia.
Yes. Yes, I will take the opportunity to give the closing remarks, thanking my team, the cooperation, the engagement, and the activeness in the training. I can see that the start is good. And to you, Dorothy, thanks so much. We will try next time to pick up with your pace. It wasn't bad, and it wasn't that we are always used to when it's always physical, but we understand it's the new normal.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the
You know what?
content.
We shall come there soon after this whole corona business. We'll come see each
Yes.
other face to face. You see how short I am.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, even some of us are not that tall, so we'll be happy to meet our colleague.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks so much. I don't have much to add on from what my colleague Queen had said. Thanks so much. We look forward to other trainings.
Yes. We
On
have
Friday.
another session on Friday, right?
Yes.
Yes. So I see you guys on Thursday. On Friday. I believe it's the same
Yes,
time.
and don't forget to send us our assessment link.
Yes.
Because we would be happy to take it on before the next training.
Sawa, no problem. I can even send it right away, so that you can do the assessment. Then we get feedback before the next training. But see you on Friday. We are happy to see your faces as well. So come prepared.
Oh yes, Friday.
Yes.
Friday.
All right. Okay.
Thank
I
you.
think other than that, good evening to everyone. Let's connect back on Friday.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.